First of all, yes, first of all, I would like maybe to introduce you a little our research work. So maybe very quickly, we discussed with Valerie that it would be great to maybe give a small notion of what is Living Cities Action Research Ecosystem is. It's a consortium of research organizations. And my background is in city development, and I have been working as an advisor for the city mayors in Russia, and have rather extensive experience of helping local administrations and even regional administrations in terms of territorial marketing, citizen engagement, everything which is connected with including as much people as possible from different walks of life, from different sectors in the regional or city development in order to provide sort of social cohesion and support of positive changes. And we launched this international research consortium in order to engage cities, first of all, small and middle-sized cities, not megalopolises, cities which are interested in I would say a new way of urban development in terms of including residents in this work, not only just providing some sort of positive changes and providing life satisfaction to people, but also to somehow foster this proactive engagement and their support and building trust between different sectors. So in this case, I have created only one slide. I will send it to you and to Valerie by email as well, but I just wanted to show it to you. One slide about the research. So I hope it will be. So the main idea is that we are focusing on the soul of the city. So our sort of hypothesis that it is important to address not only tangible, economical, some things which we can assess in the city development, but also to address to the emotional, historical, cultural, spiritual bonds that make people feel belonging to their territory and to their natural environments. Because, and again, we understand that the best idea of sort of tapping into the soul of the city is to collect stories, lived experiences and the memories and the emotions. And it would be great to have your perception today. And again, we discussed with Valerie that maybe we would invite you to act in two roles today in the interview. First of all, as a resident, as a person who belongs to Cork and who loves the city where you live, and at the same time as a professional, a person who is in charge to some extent of the city development. So this sort of two roles could help us understand more the city and its soul. And again, speaking about the soul of the city, why we think that collecting the stories and lived experiences could be potentially beneficial to many many organizations, to many communities, to city councils. Because first of all, when we collect this vision, this understanding, these emotions, this emotional part and attitudes of the citizens, we can build better trust. Because when we understand what people think, how they perceive their land, it is easier to build communication on the language of these people. And again, when we understand how people see problems and the solutions to these problems for the city, it is easier for us to suggest some solutions which would be interesting and valuable for different for the participants from different sectors of city. Again, social inclusion, cohesion, because we invite people and they share and we create this space of mutual trust and support. Participatory urban development, because we want to, and again, that's our ultimate goal. I understand it's not about today's conversation, but at the same time, we hope that this collection of stories is not just nice stories, great to share, but it's mostly the great opportunity for us to build intergenerational communication, intercultural communication, because if we are talking about most European cities, they are overcrowded with migrants, and it's a huge challenge to bring this social understanding and mutual respect and find their strengths in these multiple cultures, not their challenge and not their threat to their urban development. And again, while preserving their local culture, it's again how to enrich it with different other cultures. Enhance city image, of course, touristic attractiveness, and at the same time balance it with the regenerative development and stewardship, ecological stewardship. From one perspective, all of the cities are interested in their new investments and capitals and tourists, but at the same time, we understand that it's a sort of their threat to the nature, and to maybe it can disturb local residents, crowds of people with cameras. So again, how to balance it and how to make it beneficial for different target audiences, I would say. Social support for changes, again, to provide, to understand what is important for people. And as I started with citizen engagement in order to build this space of trust and invite people to co-create together and to speak to each other, because again, we started with Valerie the communication on understanding that lots of great organizations are doing wonderful stuff, but they don't know about each other. They don't know what they are doing. And it's so great to build these bridges. And again, sharing stories, it sort of helps us to avoid sort of perfectionism to some extent, and just start communicating and sharing understanding of what we want to do, what we are already doing, what could be done better. So that's the overarching idea of how this research can serve the city. And again, we are not expecting that today's meeting will make all the decisions and all solutions, but at the same time, I wanted to show you this big picture. And at the same time, to start with just communicating with yourself and seeing your understanding, and maybe you would be so kind to just to recommend us some other people who could be interested in this. And our ultimate goal maybe with Valerie is to create maybe some facilitated sessions for people from different sectors who could share their stories together in order to invite those people to share and to maybe find some ways to create something together. And again, sharing Cork's best practices and Cork's beautiful story with the world, because we are working with different cities, but at the same time, our goal is to create the network of cities and to share beautiful stories and to bring people from different places to share with each other. So our idea is to conduct maybe a conference in the late autumn this year, where people from different places could also share their ideas of the soul of their cities. And this could give, again, the opportunity to understand how people deal with the problems in different cities, how they communicate, how they participate, what is the achievement, what are the achievements. And again, I would hope that this would also somehow sort of promote city and enhance the image of the city and make it more interesting for others in the world. So that's sort of different levels, local values, global values, and sort of big ideas. Now we are working with approximately 7 to 10, I would say, different cities. We have already conducted interviews from Cork with Valerie. We work with Slovenia and Balkan region very actively. We have contacts in South Africa, in Cape Town. So this is sort of our plans to-do list. We have strong contacts in Canada. We have already conducted interviews with the people from Cuba, which is very interesting because it's absolutely different culture. And several others, and Ukraine. In Ukraine, I have my sort of colleagues with whom we have been working for many years, just before war, despite of the fact that they are in Ukraine. I am from Russia, but we are continuing communicating and collaborating And again, it's a very valuable story. So again, I hope that we will share these stories with each other, and it will give a very strong impact to the city development. So if you have any questions about the approach, the research, I would be happy to to answer.
Yeah. That was really a clear overview. Thanks, Marina. It was actually lovely to kind of just even to see this. I love the term ecological stewardship. I think it's great. But I just found this really interesting and really aligns with a lot of the work we're doing. I'm just wondering, from this research perspective, is it funded by like a particular agency, or is there a particular consortium that's leading out on it, or how did it all kind of come about in its first instance? Does that make sense?
Beautiful. Yes, thank you. So we are on the grassroots sort of level of our development. So we have about 10 organizations, so 9 people. Each of us represents different research organizations, and I will send you maybe the link, or maybe we will ask Valerie to share the link to our website, where
Okay.
all members of our research team and the organizations, they are presented. And on this grassroots period, we are investing our own sort of time and finances, and our own organizations sort of grassroots finances. We have applied for several European grants last year and early this year. So last year grants we unfortunately haven't won yet, but I hope that those that we prepared this year would be more successful. And again, speaking about supporting the development of the cities, we, as you can see in the description of our organization partners, they are consultancy organizations. So maybe we are also open to some collaborative work in terms of city coaching or city development, city research, and somehow participating and supporting local teams in terms of developing this social cohesion and again, economical development as well. For example, we have a project in Mexico now, in Calakmul region, and there is a company which will make their research and work with local people in this Calakmul bioregional reserve. So the idea is to work with people and to support them on how to be, again, more respectful to nature, and at the same time to provide to themselves with economical development. So this constant limitations and restraints between ecological and economical development of the bioregion of the natural reserve. So this work is financed. So we have this local consultancy projects. And at the same time, their overall research activities are now funded by these founding members. And I hope will be funded by some European grants or maybe a global grant. So we are in the process of sort of trying to raise this sustainable how to say it, support for a long.
Okay, thanks, Maria. That makes a lot of sense. I was just wondering that when you were talking through this. That's very interesting to hear.
Yeah. And I think, Martin, what Marina was saying, it'd be lovely to hear, is kind of your story, first of all, from a personal perspective in relation to as a citizen of Cork, what Cork means to you. And then we could go into the, within your professional role, because I suspect that, a lot of the things that your team are doing are engaging in some of these activities.
Yeah.
And that it would be lovely to get a sense of what is being done there, It's kind of really interesting, Marina, you said earlier on, there's so much good work going on around the place, and there's one part of me, this is just my sense, is that wouldn't it be great to bring them all together, but then there's a part of me saying no, let them do their own thing. But I think you use the term of building the bridge is sufficient. right? So it coming from a regenerative perspective, and Martin, I would have shared, you know, that view of regenerative leadership,
Mm,
moving from that kind of controlling, when we're trying to control everything, as
mm,
to more this kind of very organic style of engagement and collaboration. So I think the building the bridges is sufficient as opposed to pulling them together,
mm.
closer together. But anyway, that's just my sense.
Okay, perfect. So just so I'm clear, so the kind of the question now over to me is what kind of Cork means to me from a personal point of view, and then what Cork means to me from a professional point of view.
Yeah.
Definitely.
We'll start
Okay.
with just the personal, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. What
Okay.
what it is, but yeah, and we can maybe inquire into that as you go.
I was just about to say interrupt me because I'll absolutely go off target. So do interrupt me and let me know if I'm going along the wrong way. So I'm actually Marina, not from Cork originally, which is always one of the first things I tell everybody. I'm very proudly from about 2.5 hours drive north of Cork, a county called Clare, and I'm on the very west coast. So I'm from a place that's very rural. It's the middle of the Burn. It's a protected habitat. But I moved to Cork for university. And I moved to Cork for university with no intention of staying here. You know, I was doing a kind of a university move, which is quite common from where I'm from, because obviously there was no universities in my area. And I wanted to do this degree, which was called Public Health and Health Promotion at the time. It's now called Public Health Sciences. But it was only offered in Cork. So it was like, that's why I came to Cork originally. Anyway, I loved the city, and I moved to the UK for a little bit, and I came back to Cork and have happily been in Cork since, and my life is in Cork now. Um, but Cork probably has an awful lot of personal meaning to me. I think in your formative years, when you move to a university town and you're in a way finding yourself, and as a gay man, you have to really find yourself at that point in time. Cork gave me and facilitated all of that for me. And I have, even as I say it, I'm smiling, I have great memories of my time and moving to Cork and finding myself and having the space and freedom to do that. And that was a really important aspect of my development as a person. So, actually, I'll always be thankful and grateful to Cork for that. Cork, to me, then, you know, this sounds really corny, but I do think that Cork nourishes the soul. It has this ability to be in the countryside and be a living city all at one point in time. I spent my weekend in West Cork, an hour's drive from my house, in the sea, hiking, outdoors, surrounded by lovely people, but I was only 1 hour from home, you know, and then the beach is you have the ability to go to the beach and attend the sea in the evening after work. That's totally achievable. Yes, you can be in a system that allows for all the comfort of living in a city. And I do believe there's comfort to living in a city of how accessible everything is to you. The things I wrote down in terms of your slide were around social inclusion and cohesion, and then your kind of space and place. So I think in my answer there of what Cork means to me, Cork gave me my place. You know what I mean? It found a place for me that I didn't really know I was looking for. When I did public health in my degree initially, I was sure I was going to be a research lecturer. I probably said this to Valerie already. And I did I got a lecturing post at the university, and I absolutely hated it. It wasn't for me. But Cork somehow found a space for me, and that was great. Like, I had this pursuant idea of what I wanted a space to be, and what I needed my place to be, and it found it for me, and it found it for me in kind of translating research into practice in an NGO and now in a local authority, and looking at how we can make Cork the healthiest place ever to be. You know what I mean? People talk about, and I think if you're healthy, for me, if you're healthy, you're happy. And that always, that really facilitates a sense of a great city to be in then. I think there's also a real sense of cohesion in Cork. Like, people from Cork are really proudly from Cork. You know, they'll tell you, like I say, I'm from Clare. Yeah, like I say, I'm from Clare. Cork people will never be shy to say that they are from Cork. But actually, what I love as an outsider is that they're never shy to say they're from Cork, but they're also delighted to have others in Cork. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know how to really describe this, but in some other spaces, people can be protective of their city. There's a protectionism of like, this is my space that I am here. Whereas actually there's a kind of a social inclusion that occurs very naturally in Cork by Cork people loving Cork so much that they think it's great that you can also appreciate Cork, you know, and that you are invested and that you have also chosen this city to be your home. And there is a sense of how lucky you are to have found it, but actually in some ways they're right. Like, it is a lovely space to be. But that ideology to me facilitates inclusion, because the ideology isn't closed door, it's quite open in terms of how great it is to be living in this city. And then, if I'm being honest, I think there is a great sense of cohesion, but it's not where it needs to be. And we are we're in a changing time in our lives. We've had changes in terms of our population dynamics. So we've a number, we've social cohesion in terms of Ukrainian response. So Ireland has done brilliant work in terms of Ukrainian response and trying to house Ukrainians who are fleeing from war. I'm delighted to do so, but there's a cohesion that needs to occur with that. We have international protection applicants that are arriving to us on an ongoing basis, of which my team support here. Fantastic to have them, but we provide accommodation centres, and I don't know, we have a white paper and a policy position where we say that it's integration from day one. I would argue that that's questionable. And then I wonder, with all of those, is it cohesion? And am I saying it's cohesion? And am I saying Cork is wonderful? Which I do believe it is, and I'm really happy here. But am I saying Cork is wonderful as a middle-aged white man? And how simple it is to say that as a middle-aged white man. Like, yes, my journey's been my journey, and I had my own bits. But in the plethora of life, my bits were quite easily managed. So I think sometimes social inclusion and cohesion, it all depends on the lens and the person you're asking. And mine's very positive, but is that because of all the privilege that I arrive with? So, not to end on a downer, but that's what I would say. I have a really happy meaning for Cork, and it has done me nothing but brilliant things, and it has been so kind to me, and it is a wonderful place to grow in, and that's the way to put it. Actually, you grow in the city, and I feel better all the time for being in the city. My husband's from this city, and I have great friends in this city, and I have great times in this city and great nights out, and a great feeling of connection. And I'm looking forward to Cork City Marathon's coming up, and I'll be in for that. And St. Patrick's Day was on, and the festival was moving, and there's markets and wonderful bits where you feel socially included and a part of a social space that's perfect for a little social butterfly like me. Like, I'm very happy. But is that my story, Martin, middle-aged white Irish man? And is that there's a lot of privilege that comes in a lot of countries with being a middle-aged white Irish man.
That's really interesting, actually, because I was even saying to Marina at the start, Martin, so like my story again, I'm Corkonian, so as you say, very proud to be from Cork, but there's a certain privileges that I have, have been lucky in relation. So my story of Cork and my sense of Cork is influenced by my experiences. And my experiences have been largely positive You know,
Mm.
and this other, you know, my mother's family would be from the north side of Cork. I would have explained that to Marina. She's from the north side, as you probably
Yeah.
get the north side and the south side.
Mm.
You know, and the different dynamics that go on there. But yeah, I'm really curious as well about, you know, our sense of inclusion or how we feel in a place are influenced by our experiences. So
Mm.
again, my experience and your experience, you know, from where you're from or whatever. But
Mm.
then if you're talking about cohesion of people who actually come into the city, um, you know, particularly maybe migrants, how different that may be or
Mm.
that may feel,
Yeah.
you know, and how we bring that out. Because it all influences how people engage with the city, how
Mm.
people want to become part of the city
Yeah.
or are open to the invitation that the city brings.
Mm. And if we think like there's great things that happen in Cork, so even around, if I just stick to integration for now. So if we think about things like Sanctuary Runners, which is a space for individuals who enjoy running, to run with individuals who are living in international protection accommodation centres, and they can collect them and bring them to parks and drop them and bring them to road races and do the whole thing. Great. But actually, we think about inclusion. Sometimes I think about inclusion as inclusion over there, you know, like as in somewhere else that's at another initiative. But actually, if I'll kind of very much stick to the personal now rather than getting into work yet. But how do I display inclusion in my life? So Cork's a great place to be, and it's a living city. It's a living, dynamic, and definitely diverse city. Maybe it's not the most diverse city that ever was, but it's a lot more diverse than when I landed here 20 years ago, and it's only going one way, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, with diversity, if I maybe I'm being overly self-critical, but if I'm in a real reflection moment, because I can be on this call, if the diversity has changed that dramatically in 20 years, and my friend group probably hasn't changed that much in the same time, what does that say about inclusion? I know I'm only one person, but in law of averages, like, you know, shouldn't it have? If really there was a sense of inclusion in the city, shouldn't I've made new friends in the last 20 years, but none of them came from an international protection accommodation centre. You know, I don't have that experience or that lived narrative for me. So why? And I'm not the only one, I would argue. But even if I don't need to worry about others, if I just give that example, diversity in the city has changed in 20 years. I have made new friends, and they are predominantly pretty mainstream Irish. Not all, but like the majority. That's
That's
interesting.
a very interesting point. Yeah, it is a very, you know, it's a very interesting point. But again,
Mm.
it's from your experience.
Yeah.
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 So I do have this absolute love, don't get me wrong. Like
Mm.
when this all comes to pass and you write it all down, like my Cork has been, I have this kind of, see, so I love it and I'm very happy here. And I actually, happy I do think is probably too strong because actually I think happiness comes in peaks. I was saying to my husband recently, I feel really content in my life, and that's actually a really good place to be because content's like an even keel where you always feel the same. Happiness should be a peak, but I'm really content here. Like Cork brings you a sense of contentment because you have whatever you kind of need, and you can be quite flippant. Whatever you need in a weekend can be delivered to you. Whether you need that to be countryside, whether you need that to be ocean, whether you need that to be hill walking, whether you want that to be urban shopping and dinner and drinks, it's all accessible, which is how privileged is that? Like, it's great. So,
It's kind of interesting, Martin, there you're kind of talking about the city and what it gives, you know, all the different
mm,
things. It can be proximity, it can be the land, it can be ease of access to whatever you need, which
mm,
is really interesting. I think it's nearly like you're nearly describing
mm,
um even you say if you were to describe that as nearly a person or as
Mm,
something other than a physical city. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? It
yeah, yeah,
seems to be very giving, and
yeah,
how to describe that. Do you know what I mean? Do
yeah.
you understand where I'm coming from?
Totally. But I do actually think Cork is a very giving city. Like I think it's tailor made. Maybe it's the fact that it can be as flippant as you want it to be. You know, like as in you can just wake up in the morning and think, what do I want to do today? And Cork can offer you that. You know, and like not absolutely everything, like we don't have a roller coaster theme park, but you know, like as in general, you can decide what do I need to nourish my soul today? Like what do I need? Because sometimes you do need a night out. Sometimes you do need drinks with friends. Sometimes you do need shopping. Sometimes you need a really nice coffee shop or a brunch or a walk around a really busy street. And sometimes you need, like a couple of weekends ago, I drove to the marina to go for a run because I wanted to go for a run around people. So I wanted to go for a run, yes. I wanted to be close to nature. So I was down by the water and it's really beautiful marina.
Mm.
And but I didn't want to be but I didn't really want to interact either, if that makes sense. So I had my headphones on, I was doing my own thing, but it was nice to be engaged in Cork in the morning. And then I brought myself for a breakfast date, and that was also really nice. And that happened at the Marina Market, you know, really lovely. Sat in the sun, had my breakfast, had a coffee on my own, and I got to feel like I was being social, but when my internal battery didn't facilitate that. But Cork as a space
Mm.
facilitated that for me.
Mm.
So,
Though, isn't it, is even like that when you're saying that, is that the city in itself
mm,
maybe can provide that sense of being part of it, even without engagement with human. You know what I mean? The city is offering something of itself.
yeah, oh yeah, totally. Yeah, yeah. As a space and place, the city does all that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
As a setting, I don't know how to put it. Yeah.
yeah.
As an entity, it's like you're right. It's like a person. As a person, the city does that.
It does. Is even
Yeah.
when you're saying it there now, it's kind of nurturing in
Oh
its,
yeah.
you know, like even when you were talking about going down along the marina, I'd be familiar, obviously, marina with
Hmm.
this area, but like you have the port there is beautiful as you're coming into the city,
Yeah.
and you've got the green, as you say, and it's so vibrant.
Yeah, and you've the water, you've the park on the other side. There's always
Yeah,
other runners. There's rowers out on the
I
water.
love seeing roars. Yeah,
Yeah, there's people cycling. There's kids out, dogs out, families out, older people out, younger people out. It's a bit of everyone.
you'd wonder though. I'm sorry, Marina, now if I'm leading this astray in any way, but you'd wonder then if you see is the city seen in that through those eyes for everybody, or how we experience the city
Mhm.
can be different for different people.
Well, that's very true. Yeah, and sometimes though. Oh God, this probably sounds very negative that I don't mean it, but sometimes that's actually person centered. You know what I mean? Like if you go at life with a glass half empty attitude, or if you decide that you're going to get up in the morning and not experience something, you have to get yourself to the marina to experience the water and the people. You have to decide I'm going to be brave enough to go out for a solo breakfast date. That didn't require anyone, you know what I mean? But you just have to do
Yourself.
those things. And sometimes, and don't get me wrong, I do work in the area of like social inclusion, cohesion. Some people don't have the capacity to do that, and that's well and good. Um, and there is requirement for us to bolster people or to support people when it comes to that. But in life as well, some people are just negative, and that's also something. You know what I mean? And they need to unpack that for whatever it is. And then I probably need to unpack sometimes I can just see life as like another opportunity. You know what I mean? Like what's next? And maybe I need to unpack that too. But like there's kind of people coming at life at two sides, so, at two angles sometimes. So there's something in that. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
Something in
yeah,
that.
it's kind of, it's just as you're talking about it, it's kind of interesting, is kind of saying, how can, you know, the city, or the soul of that city be
Mm,
visible to everybody
yeah, yeah.
in its simplest form? Do you know what I
Mm,
mean?
mm.
Whether, regardless of background, regardless of mindset, regardless of where the person is, but that that everybody, the city, kind of, its invitation is there for everybody, and people see that.
Do you know one thing that I think really facilitates it for me, actually, and that's a really good question because it's just triggered this for me, is connection. So I work in an area called community, and actually connection isn't always the easiest in Cork, and I think maybe that's one of the challenges. So I've been really lucky, and I've met great people. Like I really have. I have really a lovely bunch of friends that are like a social support network for me and have done just great things for me in my life, and I really enjoy them as people. But I got them through university, and then I picked them up through a running club, and I picked them up through different areas of my life from the gym now, and they're fab. But I have really good friends that haven't been that lucky at securing a social network, and I think lots of I didn't come up with the marina breakfast idea on my own. Like somebody had spoken about doing it, and I was like, oh, that sounds lovely. I'm going to do that myself some weekend. Or, like we've gone out for cycles and trips, and actually it's been friends that have been like, well, we all bring out the bikes, and then we've gone out from the bikes and had a great time. And so, but some of my friends have really struggled to gain connections in the city, and would say that actually, although it's very open, like thinking of two friends now in particular, from two totally different areas of my life, but they would actually say, although the city appears very open, and people would be like, oh, we must meet for coffee, we'll definitely catch up, I'd love to go for whatever, that actually that doesn't happen. And I wonder whether that's a Cork-based thing or an Ireland-based thing, but we are, as people, sometimes we're lacking the connection, like, or the want or the desire to connect, or I don't know what it is, or is it the confidence to connect? Maybe it's not want or desire. Maybe people don't feel confident enough to actually be like, oh, put yourself out there, to connect to somebody else. Or the vulnerability, because there is a vulnerability in connecting. You don't connect off bravado, you know what I mean? So there's a vulnerability in letting your guard down maybe a bit to get to know somebody truly. Yeah, I don't know if I'm making sense, but I do think that's one thing that maybe actually Cork is lacking, that maybe I definitely received and I got out of luck. But I'm also very protective of my friendship group. I don't think it'd be easy to restart again and find another friendship group in Cork. You know what I mean?
Kind of like your tribe, finding your tribe. But again, I think like as you say, you probably had networks that came up through university, and you'd be, you'd be of the mindset to engage. But I hear what you're saying, and particularly if you're, it's interesting actually. I think you used the term as well that I picked up on, and I even heard my grandfather use this, right? He was a blow-in.
Oh yeah.
You're a blow-in.
Yeah.
So my grandfather would have been from Mallow area, which is Cork County Marina, and then they moved into the city around Glanmire, but he was always known as a blow-in.
Yep.
So that's kind of interesting as well, right? So if you talk about connection, particularly for people maybe coming into the city, we're open, but there's still a sense, but you're blowing, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
know, something in
And you
that.
kind of forever will be, which in a weird way.
Always will be.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no
Yeah.
getting away from that.
Yeah. Yeah. So would you like to move on to say from a professional perspective, Martin?
Yeah.
Say in relation to say the work that your team are doing at the moment.
And what Cork means to us.
Yeah, what Cork
Yeah.
means to
Yeah.
you exactly, and maybe even the challenges that you face.
Yeah. So in my professional life, I am lead for the community team in Cork City Council. I have a team of about 70, and we work on a broad range of initiatives. So when we think community, we actually think community and social inclusion. So it's not community in terms of, I suppose, you have to cut your cloth and we only have so much money. Our role is to support those people that require it. And from a social inclusion lens, we think of many people as having the ability and the wherewithal to support themselves or to reach out should they not be able to. So we think of ourselves as strengthening communities that require that through a plethora of initiatives, programs, funding opportunities that can enhance a community's needs and enhance a community's social cohesion. We have, I'll start at the very top. So we've got at the very beginning, we've Learning Cities. So Learning Cities is a UNESCO learning program. We've got a Learning Cities coordinator, a Cork Access Network coordinator, and a Lifelong Learning Festival coordinator as part of that group. Those people are really trying to make education as accessible and achievable as possible. And I had a very happy engagement and relationship with education, but that's not the same for everybody. And it sometimes education at a point in time in your life doesn't work, but that doesn't mean that it's not the right path for you. And sometimes our systems don't always respect or engage with an alternative form of learning. And so our Learning Cities group is aimed at changing that or adapting or providing space for networking and alternative forms of learning and alternative forms of awards for people within a social inclusion lens and living in communities that require that support. We have my sports teams. The sports team include Cork City Marathon. And when you think of what Cork means to me, I've never ran the marathon, I've ran the half marathon, but I think Cork City Marathon is a brilliant showcase festival of joy. It comes at the June bank holiday weekend. It's often really nice weather. There's lots of people that come to the city for the event because they might know somebody who's running the marathon. Then it's like a dissension in to support that person and meet up with friends. Lots of people come home for that weekend because it's a bank holiday, so it's a 3-day weekend. And I don't know. Now that so I thought of that a lot on my personal life, and now I think it's the best of what Cork has to offer because it's a festival that's like built on volunteers. You know, like in many ways it's just built on a prayer, but that's actually isn't that just brilliant? So, you know, ambulance services, Gardaí volunteer, we have community members volunteer, running organizations volunteer, and all of these people, like particularly the running organizations, would all love to take part, but they don't. So they give of their time to stand on the side of the road and stand by barriers and hand out water and make sure people are okay so that others can enjoy the city. And I think that is actually just so lovely. And the Lord Mayor kicks it off every year. And I don't know, it's like the little heartbeat of the city. I think it's just great.
And and the housewives, I actually ran it one year.
Yeah.
And it is amazing.
Mm.
But then you're going through a certain part of the city, and next thing you would have these women standing at the side of the road, you know,
Yeah.
a housewife with her bag of sweets, you know, handing out sweets. So it's really interesting. It actually brings people to it,
Yeah.
doesn't it? And
Yeah, it
everybody
does.
feels part of it.
Yeah. And you feel like there's people like my body stands on the way through. Like it's a bit, it's just mad, but it's lovely, isn't
It
it?
is, yeah.
It
People are
is.
very much giving.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It
I
is.
actually fell going through Ballyhan when I was doing it, and I cut my knee, and this woman literally dragged me into her house to wash my knee and put a bandage on it and then send me on my way. Do you know?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
when I think about that actually, you know, and she was just this random person that I met at the side of the street, you know. Yeah,
But that's community. Like
that's
that's
community.
actually feeling a part of a community. That's a community mind in you. And I just think it just does. I don't know. There's something about it. It's just, it definitely. Beforehand, I thought the marathon was nice, and since I've joined, and I'm only here 6 months, Marina, but they've definitely converted me. I just think the marathon is a bit of everything, and I even see in the run up to it, you know, the marathon is ran in here like 11,000 people will arrive in our city to run the marathon, and roads have to get shut down, public transport has to be changed. Like, it's huge initiative, and it's ran off two guys that sit up the hall from me side by side and chat away their day. They get it all done, and they're so nice, and everyone really likes them. And there's, I don't know how many of us volunteering our whole bank holiday weekend away because they're the two nicest lads, and they're doing all of this off a wing and a prayer, and I think that is all for the city, just doing it for the city. Like, that's being a public servant, which we're all deemed to be with when you work within a local authority. Anyway, sorry, I always get waylaid by the marathon. Within the sports team, then we also have brilliant, like, they're just a brilliant division. Like, so they've a rugby development crew, and the rugby development crew are there because rugby in Ireland has for many years been deemed a sport of the elite masses, and would often be attached to private tuition and wealthier families, which is now me making very broad brush strokes, Marina, but that's just the reality of what it was looked like. And with that in mind, there is no rugby club in the north side of the city, because the north side of the city would be deemed not as wealthy, maybe. And there was never a rugby club. So now we've got a rugby development officer whose job is to go into schools and start engaging all those students to teach them how to play rugby and give them an opportunity to engage with that, because they deserve that too. And so then they'll be able to advocate for themselves in time to have a rugby pitch in the north side of the city. So it's kind of creating a crowd of champions.
I never knew that.
Isn't that mad? But when you
Yeah.
have to think about it, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. You're
Yeah.
absolutely. There is no rugby club on the north side of the city.
Yeah. And why is that? So that's all about to change, thanks to community and Cork City Council. So we have our assistant sports development officer and our sports development officer who do amazing work in terms of creating things like sports on the green, going out to international protection accommodation centres, going out to Ukrainian response centres to provide children living in those centres with sporting opportunities. We go to different housing estates and green spaces across the city to generate different opportunities for sports. And sports doesn't have to mean rugby. It doesn't have to mean basketball. It can just mean play. It can just mean movement, engagement, connection with others. And speaking of connection earlier, like, if you want to really connect with someone, there's nothing more mindful than having to concentrate on a sport or on movement or on anything to really let your barriers drop and for you to find a connection maybe on a totally different level. And sport is also a brilliant leveler. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter who you are, where you came from, sport's just a great leveler. So yeah, we've a brilliant sports team. I'm mad about them, as you can tell. Then I have my rapid coordinators. Rapid is about revitalizing areas. It has a focus on kind of social inclusion, creating spaces for connection across community organizations, providing funding and infrastructure so that communities can really meet their full potential, and looking at social enterprises and how we as a community division can support social enterprises in areas of deprivation within Cork City. Fantastic program. We've got 3 rapid coordinators, but we've 5 areas. So actually we've what we call as 2 area leads in social inclusion development officers. So that's a team of 5 in total. They run everything, community safety forums as well, so that communities can come in, and there's a panel of people working in housing and roads in the local authority, as well as community policing, and they can talk about their safety needs and problems and issues and challenges that are occurring in their community and have their voice heard in a very democratic manner. They're not waiting to go through some of the jumps that they might have to go through. So that's that.
Do people engage in that well, Martin? Is it
They engage, the word well now was the one that caught me there, Valerie. They definitely engage. Sometimes it can be challenging which challenging is fine and challenging is expected and people should be able to voice their opinion. Where challenging can be problematic is if it's not making progress towards something. So sometimes people can just be sitting on a frustration so long they need to find a home for that frustration. That doesn't actually really make progress, but sometimes they find their home at that community safe forum, and that can be a bit of a challenge. You know what I mean? But it is, yeah, they do engage. In general, I would say communities really engage quite well in that, and it's a really positive thing that as a team we would never give up, because it's also an avenue for us to engage with the community on an ongoing basis. So we do that quarterly in every area of the city.
Brilliant.
Yeah. We have a joint initiative with the health service executive, and so that's why I kind of say well-being is happiness. I came from a public health background, and I think when you have there's an Irish saying, Marina, that everyone says, if you have health, you have wealth, and it's true. I do think that being healthy enables an awful lot of the things that we just spoke about. And if you're not healthy, it's hard to engage in sport, it's hard to engage in going to the sea after work, it's hard to engage in heading down to the marina. Sometimes all those things can be limitations. So our joint initiative, I suppose, strengthens communities by placing health at the heart of a local government whose role is to deliver services. And we think having that provides that. We're really lucky though, because we've a great social inclusion manager in the health service executive that also believes in that. So that's great. And we work on a number of initiatives, including Sláinte Care, which is a kind of an all-Ireland plan. And we deliver infrastructure into communities off the back of that. Everything from cricket ball, table tennis tables and cricket ball courts, and you know whatever it takes for people to feel engaged in their communities. We have a Healthy Ireland program, which funds kind of networks, play initiatives, placemaking initiatives across communities in Cork City, so that people can actually define what they want their sense of community to be, and what we want their sense of community to be, and how their place should be for them. So for example, in Ringmahon Park, which is near one of our rapid areas, Mahon, there's been real challenges in that area of late and around social cohesion and antisocial behaviour. And we've just done a whole placemaking event on a full Saturday a couple of weeks ago, where we brought families and kids in, and older people and individuals living in the community, and we'd flyer everywhere and get them all in on a Saturday to talk about what, now that we're going to be looking at this park and redesigning it, and we can apply for some money for that, what does this park, what could it be for you? What would make you engage in that? And what would you like it to look like? So it's not just us placing a park and being like, go sit in the park and be happy. It's actually asking them what they need from the park in order for it to be of utility. We have local authority integration teams which run clinics with people living in international protection accommodation centres. Really important part of our work, and we've had 1,500 engagements in 2024 in relation to that project. We have our Ukrainian response team, which runs a similar program, but just for the Ukrainian population. We have an age-friendly program, so that growing old in Cork City is the best place in Ireland to grow old, and that's our focus. We want there to be age-friendly seating. We want there to be seating across the city, so that you can go out, and maybe if it's not just seating, that there's places to lean against, so that you can rest, and that makes your city more accessible. What's the parking like? What are shops like? What are cafes like? Have they thought about that? We're working with Cork Business Association and Cork Chamber to think about actually how can you actively get involved and make Cork a great place to grow old. We work on things like non-fire night, so St. John's Night in Ireland, which is the 24th of June, Marina, was often thought of as a bonfire night, so people would set fire to things. In some areas of the city, that would have escalated quite quickly, and so we've reformulated that, and it would have been a very busy night for our fire department actually, which is a bigger challenge. And actually sometimes they would have been involved in putting out fires for those rather than, and then not being able to be called, or there being a delay in being called, and it just needed to be changed. So now we have a thing called a non-fire night, which is a family fun day that we fund in our 3 rapid areas across the city, and we do that every year in parks. And so, you know, that was done out of a consultation with the community and looking at what they wanted. Not what they wanted maybe, but what could be of interest to them on that night. We have our local, sorry, I'm rabbiting on now. Am I on the right track?
Grant, yeah, it's all very interesting. I'm just watching your time now. If you've,
Yeah.
are you okay with time, Martin? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of it really from community.
Yeah.
Like the rest of it's, you know, there's broad things around grants and funding and local community development committees and policy areas and strategic policy groups that we all have to be involved in. But all of those really are just the infrastructure to make the rest run.
Mm. Again, and again, forgive me now, it's again, the city offers an awful lot. It offers an awful lot to its residents, I suppose, as opposed to using the term citizens. And it's maybe how that connection happens. So the work that you're doing is to build those connections and make those services available for all the residents of the city.
And I think in some parts it is for all the residents, and then in some parts actually it's not, you know, because there's a kind of it's the kind of balance of equality and equity. Like some people, if it's a service that's available for everyone, they're already maybe 3 streets ahead anyway, you know, in terms of the opportunities. Me being one of those people, like the opportunities I've had in life have been far more and far greater, and I've been so privileged that sometimes I don't need to be gifted something else, you know what I mean? And actually, maybe it's about gifting back, and that's a reflection for me. And I think that sometimes within community, then our role is to be the baddie that says, no, it's not for your community, because your community, not that you wouldn't benefit from it, we'd all benefit from lots of things, but we're trying to rebalance the equity framework, you know what I mean, towards areas of social inclusion.
That's lovely, Martin. Yeah. Do you get a good sense, Marina?
Yes, maybe if you would give us a couple of more minutes, I would like to wrap up with the question, or to return to the energy of the city and of this perception, despite of the fact whether you are a native born or you are a person who came to the city in different circumstances. What would you think would be how would you explain this energy of the city? You have talked a lot about this given nature of the city. So in these terms, what would be the energy of the city, and how would you maybe embody it? For example, if a city were a person, for example, who would it be?
What's the energy of the city? I think the city is, I don't know if this is the answer, but I'm sitting with it. I think the city is a really friendly, quite excited person. That's the type of person they are. And they're very self-assured, but not in an overly dramatic way. But I do think one of the challenges that the city has is, I don't know if it's the word seems quite harsh, so I don't really want to use it, but I don't know if it's like a disingenuous, or if it's an overly excited and so doesn't actually have maybe the time it thinks it has available to it. But I think sometimes as a community and as people, if I was coming in, I would, and did think at the start, everyone says they want to meet and everyone wants to be friends, and everyone's so friendly and so happy and so brilliant that you think, oh my God, this is going to be, I'm going to be everywhere and anywhere. Like, everyone's so friendly here and I'm going to have so many people to contact. But actually forming a true connection, that's a harder shell to crack. So I don't know how you put that as a person. If you can figure that out, like, I would love to know. But that's where I think the challenge is. So I think it's a person who's really friendly, really engaged. I don't think they're disingenuous. That's actually the wrong word. I think they're just overly stretched and they're trying to be nice, but they're maybe not being honest about their own availability. Honest with themselves now, I mean, actually, not honest with the other person. Because I don't think it's a thought considered, but I have heard friends of mine say it, and I do really believe that they're right. Like, we've all done it, haven't we, at a point in time? Been like, absolutely, we must do that. But like, as we float off into the ether, like, so there's something there. So that's Cork. Fab, just too busy.
Too busy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so true, actually.
Yeah.
It's so true, that statement. It's like that overcommitment, that committing to stuff, and then kind of going, oh geez, where am I going to get the time to do that?
Yeah. Say nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what
So-
would be maybe your advice to a person who would come to Cork as this overcommitted but very, very, very generous and open-hearted person?
Do you know what I would say? All I could say is what I did and what worked for me, and I leaned into the things that meant a lot to me. So I leaned into sports that I genuinely enjoyed and that I got a lot from, and I met some great people through that. And I leaned into, in some ways, like when I met like guys in scene and I became friends with them, I leaned into like, right, when are we going meeting? What are we going to do? I would ask, and lots of people I've never heard from again, Marina, that I thought I had lots of laughs with on a night out, and that was the last I saw of them. So we obviously didn't. But the people I did make connections with, it was worth it. I went through lots of people to make those connections. And so you have to lean into you. What's the type of person you are? I leaned into my hobbies, and I leaned into the fact that I like people. I like a full house. I like people being around. I like going for coffees. I like doing things with people. I like feeling presence from people. And so I just kept doubling down on that's, maybe it's a bit selfish, but that's what I needed from the city. So, but maybe I could give that to somebody else too. Maybe somebody else needed that too. So it's a kind of a symbiotic relationship then.
So not to be shy to ask to
No.
teach
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. But you have to lean into yourself, you know what I mean? Because I have a really good friend, but he's not like that at all. He's like a really shy guy, and he just leaned into himself as well. I met him. I also love the game of chess, and I met him because we were all part of a chess group, and he's an absolute dote. Mad about him. Couldn't be more different to me. So, but he leaned into what he liked, and I leaned into what I liked. It just both so happened that we both liked that thing, and then we actually both found each other.
It's like there's an abundance of kind of, it's kind of finding what it is that you like.
Yeah.
And if you're coming into the city, having visibility to what is available,
Yeah.
so that you can kind of, it's kind of like, it's like a basket or something. It's kind of, the basket is there. What is it that I want? What is it that will bring me joy? I think even what you said there, Martin, is that being myself, so you can be yourself in the city.
Mm.
And how do you nurture that self?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you kind of need, I suppose maybe you need to nurture it in every city. I don't think there's any city where you don't need to bolster yourself in some way, because that's the reality of being human. But if you pick the things that nurture you, that'll bolster you along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it was wonderful. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I don't really know what I've just done, but actually it was really good. It was actually really lovely
Yeah.
to sit down and chat. So thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's beautiful. And I think what will come next, Marina, will be something similar, that Martin will get a transcript of the conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I will put together some article-like text
Yeah.
be discussed, and we can enhance it to whatever you like to
Yeah.
add or to adjust. And yeah, I hope that, and it would be great. So Valerie, maybe we could make a comparison and find out what could be the next step in exploring the city through different eyes, from different perspectives, from different representatives of different people. Again, I think that it would be great to engage with somebody who are involved, for example, in building this marathon, because it creates such a great event for the whole city, when all the city is breathing this.
Yeah.
Or maybe people from elderly group, people who maybe remember the old Cork, and at the same time how they perceive these changes and these quick things which are happening in the city. So again, to look at through different lens.
Yeah.
We can have a chat, Marina, anyway.
Yeah.
And I'll see you next week, Martin.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, on Tuesday, I think, isn't it?
On Tuesday, yeah.
Tuesday, yeah, or Wednesday, yeah.
Beautiful. It was a great pleasure. So let's stay connected through email, and I will send you what we have created together.
Great. Marina, it was really lovely to meet you. Really lovely to meet you, and thanks. And great to see you.
Thanks.
Valerie, I'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next. Thank you so much,
All right.
Martin.
Bye now.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye bye. I will stop the recording.